Hi you guys, welcome, välkomna, добро пожаловать. My name is Samantha Rogers. Today is Friday and I have another true crime stories with Sal for you. Hope everyone had a beautiful Valentine's Day. I feel like Valentine's Day is not only about couples. I know when I lived in Sweden, I always made sure I brought flowers to my grandparents and basically showing love to my family members as well. So, I hope you guys showed love to your loved ones, showed love to yourself, maybe spoil yourself with a gift or what have you. And in general, just had a great weekend. We also had the Super Bowl. I'm not a sports fan, but I do enjoy the halftime show as I did. It was a great performance. But yeah, so I hope you guys are happy, healthy, and ready to listen to another story. And I'm not going to lie, today's story for me personally was very hard to research. All of the stories that I have covered so far are very tragic and sad and, takes a little toll on my soul. But this one particular, I don't know, I was literally in tears when I read about the story and did my research. So it was, this story is very sad and very graphic as well. So let's go into the content warning. And also, as you guys know, my channel is about true crime. So it's obviously always going to be something very dramatic and very heartbreaking and very graphic. So just FYI. So I'm just telling you guys a little warning, just a heads up, but because you never know how certain people feel about certain topics. But just in general, mind you that if you are subscribing and you are listening to my stories, I'm assuming that true crime is something that you enjoy too, or not enjoy particular, but find interesting. But yeah, so today's content warning is going to be, I'm going to discuss acid attack. I'm going to discuss rape, suicidal thoughts, and domestic abuse. So if these are the topics that you maybe not want to listen to today, you can click away, and I hope I see you next Friday with another video. As I usually do, I'm not going to reveal the true identity of the victim due to privacy and respect. The victim's family been through enough. I will, though, mention the perpetrator by name, so it's easily, if you want to look up the victim and what have you, it's easily to just to Google the case later on after you heard it from here. Just go and do your own research and find out who the person is. With that all being said, my darlings, let's get into today's case. Today's case is taking place in Bristol, England, and the year is 2015. And the person that we're going to discuss a couple, but for privacy and respect reason, I will call the man in question John. And to better understand the story, I need to tell you guys about these two people. So John is born late 1980s, and he is originally from Belgium. And I couldn't find a lot of background info about him other than that, he's coming from what I understood it from my research, a very loving family. He was very, very close to his father. John's father described him as a very sweet and a gentle boy. He can recall this time when John was playing marbles with one of his friends, and John actually won all the marbles, and his friend started crying. So John felt so bad about his friend crying, so he actually gave the marbles that he won back to his friend. And his father basically says that that's how John has been his whole life. He basically always likes to make people, smile and make people comfortable and loved around him. So that's about the information that I gathered on John. And unfortunately, John contracted HIV, and I couldn't find out how or what happened or who, what have you. But he contracted HIV, and at this time he was in his early 20s. And he went on this special dating site for HIV positive people, and he actually started talking to a older lady, or older lady sounds like older a woman, I would say. That's a better choice of word. Older woman, and she was about 20 years older than John, and her name was Berlinah Wallace. And Berlinah Wallace was in her early 40s, and she was originally from South Africa, but she was now living in Bristol, England. And a little background about Berlinah. She, again, was born in South Africa. Her parents were unfortunately very harsh on her, and they occasionally abused her or like hit her or what have you. So she had a very rough, I would say, upbringing, very strict parents. When Berlinah was 14, she got pregnant, and unfortunately, the baby passed away a few months after the birth. So she lost her baby, and she also lost her boyfriend. I couldn't find out if how the boyfriend passed away, if it was natural causes, he got killed, I don't know. But that was already traumatic enough. She lost her baby, and now her boyfriend died. At the age of 20, she actually got attacked by a group of men on the street, and she was gang raped by these men, and that resulted her in contracting HIV. After her horrific attack, Berlinah decided to relocate. So she wanted to leave South Africa, and she relocated to Bristol, England. So in 2010, that's when John and Berlinah met at this dating app for HIV positive people. They hit it off. Age was not something that they cared about, even though Berlinah was 20 years older than John. They seemed to hit it off. And in the beginning, they had a long distance relationship because John is from the Netherlands and Berlinah lives in England. So John would frequently visit her in England and what have you. And even according to John's father, Berlinah also visited them in the Netherlands. They spent Christmas together. She was invited to family gatherings. And her father, and John's father, basically described Berlinah as one of his daughters. Like he felt that he welcomed her with open arms into the family, and he saw her as one of his children. A few years into their relationship, John decided to move in with Berlinah in Bristol. He applied for a few jobs and landed an engineering job that paid really good. So basically, John was the breadwinner. So Berlinah at this time was not working. She was a fashion student. So she solely lived off John. So John was the one that was the main provider of their relationship. Everything looked perfect and fine, but again, behind closed doors, you never know what's going on, and in this relationship was definitely like that. Behind closed doors, Berlinah was actually very, very violent towards John. She picked fights with him numerous occasions. She even hurt it herself and then blamed it on John, saying that he did it to her. She also accused him of infidelity, of cheating on her. And overall, their relationship was actually very, very toxic behind closed doors. At one point, she poured hot, boiling water on him. And he actually had to go to the hospital for his burns. Luckily, they were minor burns. And when the hospital staff asked John what happened, he said it was an accident. But then later to his family and friends, he actually told the truth that, yeah, that was Berlinah. She attacked me with the boiling water because we were fighting about something insignificant. Berlinah also always used her, basically always said that she was depressed and suicidal. She, a lot of times when John wanted to leave her, threatening that she would kill herself if he ever left her, that basically she could not live without him. He is her family. She doesn't have anyone else besides him. She can't take care of herself and what have you. So she was very good at playing the victim and having having that guilt card over John. Not to say that she didn't suffer from depression and post-traumatic stress after what she'd been through in her past, absolutely. But it's been people that have been surviving far more horrific things and still end up being nice people, So yes, you can have depression, you can, have a few bad months, year, but, if you don't take care of yourself or seeking help or try to, work through that, that depression, it's just going to get worse. And that's exactly what happened. Berlinah's and John's tumultuous relationship lasted for about 5 years until John had enough and he actually broke up with Berlinah. John even met another woman that he was seeing as well. And as you guys can guess, this Berlinah didn't take this as great news. She still kept on harassing John. She even harassed his new girlfriend. She called numerous of times to the girlfriend's house or apartment, and just whenever she picked up, she was just breathing heavily in the phone, not saying nothing until the girlfriend hung up. And at this point, John had enough, and he was actually nice to her first. He told her that he could still help her financially if she needs that. He's still here for her. He just doesn't want to be together with her as a boyfriend-girlfriend type of situation, but he could help her financially to she get back on her feet again. And if anything, he's here for her, which is actually very, very sweet and nice. It's not that many exes that would offer financial help if you break up with your partner, So, but of course, Berlinah didn't want this. She wanted John, and that's it. And after she started to harass his new girl that he's seeing, he just had enough, and he actually filed a restraining order. And this, when the police contacted Berlinah about this new news that he filed a restraining order or like a warning, this was basically the cherry on top. She became furious. And this resulted in Berlinah actually ordering pure concentrated, so 98% sulfuric acid from Amazon. She ordered that bottle. When the bottle came to her apartment, she removed the label, and she actually Google searched, like it was a list that she later deleted, but of course the police found that list. It was about 90 plus or 80 plus Google searches about acid attacks, how it affect the victim, what type of damage acid attack does. Is it better to drink acid to get, to get more damaged, or to throw acid or what have you? She even Googled some famous acid attack victims that, were talking about their horrific ordeal or what have you. So she spent a good amount of time to Google search, to order the sulfuric acid. So this brings us to September 23rd of 2015. And it was numerous sources that said, again, numerous different things. But one source said that John went over to the apartment to talk some sense into Berlinah to kind of like, leave him alone. Another source claims that John went to Berlinah's apartment to reconcile, to get back together, or have you. But either way, John was at Berlinah's apartment that evening. They end up in a huge fight. Berlinah stormed off the apartment and she went to a hotel to sleep over at the hotel while John stayed back in the apartment, back in Berlinah's apartment, and he slept there. But at around 3 a.m., John was woken up by Berlinah's laugh. The last thing John remembers Berlinah say, "If I can have you, no one will." Right after that, she threw the concentrated sulfuric acid onto John. Right as John was hit by the acid, he just screamed in this excruciating pain. And instead of calling the ambulance or get help for John, Berlinah just left the room and she sat on the couch. John, he was in this excruciating pain. He was basically naked from the waist. He just had his boxer shorts. Again, he was asleep. And he just rushed out of the apartment and into the street in the middle of the night or early morning and started screaming bloody murder. It was one lady that heard him first. She was kind of a little bit scared. She didn't know exactly what it was because when she opened her blinds to see, the only thing she could see is a half-naked man covered in mud. That's how she described it. And then another gentleman, he was standing and smoking on his porch, and then he first thought it was some animals fighting. He didn't understand that it was a human screaming. And then when John approached his apartment closer, he realized, oh, it's a man. So he called 911 or 999, I believe it's 999 in the UK, and basically said that it's a man here. I don't know, he's just screaming, and I think he needs help. He also, you can hear on the 999 call, he asked John, like, what happened to you? And he replied, I was attacked with acid, and and then that was my ex that threw it. So the lady on the line said that, bring him into your apartment, kind of like try to rinse off the acid. But at this point, it was just so excruciating that nothing could help to relieve the pain. And his face, basically chunk of his skin and other body parts that the acid hit him, was basically like melting off. They could see the chunk of flesh was just falling out of his body and face. The ambulance arrived and rushed him to the hospital. And I'm just gonna warn you guys, I'm not putting any pictures, just like a graphic so you guys can see the damages were most on his body. And according to the doctors, this is the most severe acid attack they ever seen in their whole career. So I'm gonna to talk about his injuries right now. So it is a little bit graphic, so just FYI. But basically, he completely lost his nose. He was basically hit, from my understanding, on the left side more. So he was probably sleeping on his right side. So when she threw it, his left side was more hit by the acid. So he lost his left eye. He lost his left ear. His left face was basically just damaged, just scarred and just melted, and it was just complete disfigurement. He unfortunately had to amputate his left leg because the acid burned so deep into the flesh and then the muscle and also into the bone. They couldn't save his leg. He had to amputate his leg. And he was basically in such a horrific pain that they actually had to medically put him in a coma to calm him down. At one point, also, when John was rushed into the hospital, he could see his reflection, I believe, in like the hospital door or the room or what have you in the glass. And as soon as he saw his own reflection, he basically said, "Please, just kill me. I don't want to. If this is how I'm gonna look for the rest of my life, I don't want to live." John's family was contacted, and John's father flew from Belgium and the Netherlands to Bristol, England. I think it took him 10 days. I don't know exactly why, maybe work related, or he couldn't get a plane ticket. I don't know. But after 10 days, John's father arrived at the hospital, and at first, they basically told him to go to this, go to the left in the room, and he describes it as it was 6 rooms, and he literally went into all 6 rooms, and he couldn't find his son, and he felt at one point like, I think they might have mistaken my son for someone else, and then he returned back to the desk, and he said, "I cannot find my son. I don't know. I don't think he is in here." And the nurse basically said, "No, he is in room number 1." The acid damages were that severe that John's own father couldn't recognize his own son. The same night as John was found on the street screaming in pain, he mustered up saying that it was his ex, and he mentioned her name, so Berlinah Wallace. They quickly went to the apartment, and when they went into the apartment, Berlinah was still on the couch, but now she was actually talking on the phone with a friend. And they basically asked her what happened, and according to her, she said that they had an argument, and that prior to this argument, John had given her a glass of water, or she believed it was a glass of water because she always takes her HIV pills before bed. But this time she didn't drink the cup that John gave her, so she just had it like on her nightstand. And during this argument, she basically took the cup. She saw it all, and she believed that she threw water at John. But then when he starts screaming and basically saying, "You threw acid at me," according to Berlinah, she was in shock, and she couldn't believe that you wanted me to drink that. So you told me to drink it. You brought it to me to take my pills with, so you wanted to burn my inside. And even in the interview, you can hear her say, "Can you believe that? He wanted me to drink it." Luckily, the police didn't really believe her story, so they actually took her in for more questioning. And upon investigating the apartment, they could see where the attack was taking place. It was clearly in the bed. As you can see in this photo, the black marks is basically acid burned through the bedclothes or the bed sheets and the pillow, what have you. And they also found the bottle that Berlinah ordered from Amazon that she removed the label from, and they found the glass that was filled with the 98% sulfuric acid. Later on in custody, Berlinah changed her story once again, or for the second time. Now she claims saying that she had the acid because she is a fashion student, and in order to get rid of clothes or what have you, she ordered that acid to basically use on her clothing that she didn't want to, so basically burn the clothes. And then she also changed her story a third time, now saying that she had that acid to clean her pipes, like, in the bathroom or what have you. So basically she ordered it for cleaning purposes. Berlinah was charged with throwing the acid on John, and basically charged of throwing the acid with the purpose of hurting or disfiguring him. So she was charged, and she was in jail awaiting trial. John was in recovery for approximately 15 months, and the recovery process was definitely not easy at all. He was met from setbacks to setbacks. He actually, when he woke up from his coma, he was paralyzed from the neck down. Only thing he can move was one of his right eye, and for communication, he could stick out his tongue. So, and every time his dad pointed at a letter, he would stick out his tongue, basically saying yes, or if he didn't stick out the tongue, that means no. And eventually, after a few weeks, he regained his speech back, so he was able to communicate, but he was still paralyzed. He suffered, I believe, 2 lung infections. And mind you, throughout this process, the acid was still burning. He was in constant burning pain, constant itching pain. And the acid was still burning some parts of his body. It was still, he could feel the burn. He was released from the hospital, and he was put in like a care home. But again, his injuries was so severe that the staff at this care home basically didn't have resources or knowledge of how to take care of John. So at one night, he actually called his father back, and his father was back at home in Belgium, in the Netherlands, and he basically told his father to come back and get him because he could no longer stay at his care home. And when his father came to that care home, he just found his own son screaming, covered in his own feces, and no one took care of him. So he basically, helped him out. He showered him off. He, put new clothes on him, what have you. And he basically said, okay, we're going to go back home. You're going to stay with us in Netherlands, and we're going to take care of you. The third lung infection that John basically contracted due to his severe injuries from the acid attack, the doctors told him that he would basically, probably, is a good chance of him, if he went through this third lung operation, he would lose his speech permanently. And that was basically the only thing John had. He was paralyzed, but he could at least talk. So at this point, John felt like, I'm paralyzed. I'm gonna lose my vocal cords. I'm gonna lose my speech. I'm not gonna be able to communicate with my dad, with my family, and there's no point in living. So he actually signed up for a euthanasia clinic, and I didn't know what that was when I heard of it first. But basically, it's like, if a patient is suffering that bad and have severe injuries that cause him or her pain and suffering, and there's no other option or there's no way to get better, it's basically a doctor that will help, that will assist you, basically, take your life, but medically. I believe in America it's illegal to do that, but in Europe, especially in Belgium and in other European countries, it is legal. And it is a lengthy process. The doctor has to evaluate you as a patient to see if you really qualify for, ending your life. Basically, the stage of your health condition, the injuries, what have you, and also talk it through with other physicians. So it took about a few months before the doctors concluded that John was actually, he was approved as a candidate. His condition was severe enough that he was qualified for a euthanasia process. On January the 2nd of 2017, John had his last goodbyes, and I think he had a little drink with his father before he basically was put to rest. And I believe they pronounced him dead around 7:15 p.m. on January 2nd, and unfortunately John was only 29 years old. In 2018, the trial of Berlinah Wallace began, and it was actually, she had to go to trial twice because the first trial was actually, she wasn't found guilty of murder of John, because basically her defense team argued that she didn't kill John, a doctor in Belgium did. And so they didn't find her guilty, but then the prosecutors made sure they had a retrial, and this time she was again not found guilty of murder or manslaughter, but she was found guilty of throwing the acid to harm or permanently disfigure her partner. And for that, she got life, but minimum of 12 years. So she's eligible for parole in 12 years. And this was in 2018, that second trial. So basically, again, very soon, in 12 years, it's nothing. She still, can go on with her life, while she just, made the man that she claims to have loved or wanted to be with, put him through such a gruesome attack and suffering. Like, the whole story is just sad, but I feel like, especially for her that been through a lot in her life, a lot of loss, a lot of abuse, rape, and contracting HIV, and all of that sorrow, basically, that I feel like she, now that God gave her, or universe, or whatever you want to believe in, like, gave her kind of second chance to, move to a new country, start a new life, meet another man that is kind of in a similar situation as her, that she's able to find love even though she has HIV, and she goes and do something like this. Yeah, this whole, this story was definitely very scary and sad, and unfortunately acid attacks is very common these days, and they're used basically to disfigure and harm a person. And most acid attack happen in gang related cases or spouse related cases, jealousy, someone left someone cheated on someone, and what have you. After this incident, actually in the UK, I think they have more stricter laws on sulfuric acid. Not everyone can just order it like Berlinah was able to. So that's a good thing. But I feel like everywhere in the world should be the same, because it's not just in the UK. It happens everywhere. Yeah, my darlings, that is today's case. What do you guys think about this case? I want to hear your thoughts and what have you. Do you feel like John did the right decision, or he should have stayed and fought for his life and recovery? Or I don't know, honestly. I don't even want to think about it. God forbid if I was in his shoes, but yeah, it's just crazy. I so appreciate you guys for spending your time here with me. And as you guys know, I speak 3 languages. So for most of you guys know that I have an accent and maybe I don't pronunciate words correctly. And I'm happy that you guys are, okay with that. And I'm always appreciate you guys spending your time, even if it's morning, evening, or afternoon at your place. If you do leave some comments, please make sure they're positive comments. And, you never know who's watching and reading comments. And please take care of yourself. Please make sure you make right decisions. Act out of love instead of out of hate, because the world is too dark and too despicable. So just act more out of love. Take care of yourself. Take care of your loved ones. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel on the way out, because again, I am looking forward to get at least 1,000 followers by the end of this month. So please help me out with that. And if you have future case suggestions, just leave comments below. Let me know. And yeah, Take care of yourself, darlings, and I see you guys next Friday. Ciao, cacao.